World Peace Week into our panel entitled Bringing Peace Through Unity, an Interfaith Exploration. A renowned group of spiritual and movement leaders from around the world who will be addressing the following question. How is your community bringing peace through unity to our world and helping to usher in a new earth? It's certainly rather obvious that our world needs peace and that individuals need peace. And it's interesting when we look at our media, the mass media, and how we don't get the impression that there's much going on in terms of peace in our world, but there is. And it's really beautiful to see the kind of outreach and the programs, and there's so many of them, they're countless. It's beautiful. So today we have a group of leaders of movements and spiritual traditions who will share with us a bit about how their community is bringing peace through unity. And moderators are Irina Morrison from Australia. She's the Unity Earth Vice President of the Unity Earth Association Australia. And my name is Yanni Maniatis, and I'm chair of the board of Unity Earth in the United States. So Irina, take it away.
Thank you, Yanni. It's such an honor to be here with you all and to soak in the wisdom that we're about to receive. So without further ado, our first panelist is Reverend Deborah Mulder. She's an ordained interfaith minister committed to assisting in the transformation of human consciousness. Deborah is the founder of the Garden of Light, providing an online platform for the emerging global spirituality so that this community can be visible as a powerful force in uplifting the human spirit. So, Deborah, will you share your remarks on how is your community bringing peace through unity to our world and thus helping to usher a new earth?
Thank you, Irina. I'm delighted that we're starting Peace Week with an interfaith exploration of bringing peace through unity, as I believe that unity is truly the hallmark of the next phase of human evolution that we're on the threshold of right now. We're all aware that we're in a time of great transition. Evolutionary leader Greg Braden teaches about the cycles of time predicted by ancient wisdom traditions that are converging right now. And so much of human history has been fraught with violence and oppression. It seems that even in long ago times of clans and tribes, there was always a sense of my group is superior to your group. And the religions were no exception. As the world grew into towns and cities and empires, and finally into the nations that we know today, warfare became ever more sophisticated and deadly. But now we've seen the earth from space, hanging like a beautiful jewel in the vast darkness. The growth of universal education has brought us the knowledge that people of differing nationalities, cultures, appearances, and beliefs are basically one human family, a great tree with many branches. Our growing family shares one planet, which we have been abusing since the modern age began. But just as our essential oneness is becoming clear, we're also waking up to global threats to our very survival. These began, I believe, with the first use of an atomic bomb in 1945, demonstrating our potential to destroy the entire world. Our fate was in our hands, but we turned away, ignoring the exponential proliferation of these weapons of horror. And then in the 1970s, we became aware that we were seriously polluting the very air, water, and soil that sustains us. Still, we turned away, not knowing how to contain the production of toxins upon which so much of our lives now depend. We continue to grow in population, depleting our oceans and lands of their ability to provide food. And now we have climate change, long predicted by scientists, finally arriving at our shores. Countries, both rich and poor, are experiencing extreme weather events. And we've all seen powerful hurricanes, typhoons, and tornadoes, devastating fire and smoke, unbearable heat, and rushing floodwaters. These do feel like biblical times, don't they? So, what are our pathways to peace? What gives us hope amid so many looming catastrophes? Well, many of our evolutionary leaders offer a path forward, each in their own way. Jean Houston calls it the future human. The humanities team calls it conscious living. Irvin Laszlo gives us the upshift movement. Annalou Smitsman offers an earthwise constitution. Rick Ulfik calls it we the world. Bruce Lipton calls it humanity becoming a superorganism. Ben Bowler heads up Unity Earth, and Immanuel Kunzelman calls it the Holo movement, to name just a few of our wonderful evolutionary leaders. All of these initiatives are grounded in what Dr. Jude Curvin has dubbed the unitive narrative, and Dr. Robert Atkinson calls a new story of wholeness. So the common theme in our community is clear. We're all in this together, and this is our moment of choice. It's all about a shift in our consciousness. The first step is realizing that cooperation is far more powerful than competition, which I think we know in our hearts. The second is to recognize that everyone has gifts to give. We need the high school kid with a science project to clean up the plastics in the oceans. We need the indigenous elder who can teach us how to honor nature with sacred reciprocity. We need scientists who think outside the box, and especially those who are admitting that there's no conflict between science and spirituality. We need media that uplift and music that inspires. We need politicians and business people devoted to serving the greater good. And we need religious leaders like the ones on this program who turn their focus away from the social issues that divide us and toward their beautiful founding principles, which so many of them share. All of them teach love, compassion, justice, and forgiveness. And these leaders who offer freely their tradition's wisdom while appreciating the wisdom of other paths can help lead a global spiritual awakening. This is the road to unity, and only a heartfelt spirit of unity can heal our broken world. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Thank you very much. Beautiful words. We'd like now to introduce Dr. A.K. Merchant, who is General Secretary, Temple of Understanding India Foundation. He also serves as National Trustee of the Sarvodaya International Trust, President of Mintra Foundation, and Joint Secretary of Shanti Shahong Center for Nonviolence. He's been an active member of the Baha'i Faith since 1975, and he is Secretary of the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'i of Delhi, and until May 2023, he was recording Secretary of the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'i. And Dr. Merchant, we look forward to your reflection.
Yes, a good day. Namaskar. And pranams to all the wonderful friends who have joined for this important topic, bringing peace through unity and interfaith exploration. My involvement in the interfaith dialogue, discourses, and services at the grassroots span several decades now. And this topic is very dear to me. After such a beautiful presentation by Reverend Deborah Moldo, I'll try my best to also share what the interfaith platform throughout the world, and there are so many organizations who have been working for many, many decades. Our Temple of Understanding, which was established in 1960, is now 63 years old. And the Baha'i faith has been also very much involved in the promotion of unity in diversity. And they are the ones who in 1949 introduced the World Religion Day, which is commemorated or celebrated on the third Sunday of January every year. So the interfaith discourse has a very rich history. And we have learned a lot as pilgrims, as persons who have been journeying together, as persons of goodwill who aspire to make this world a better and a happier place. We are also acutely aware that our world has entered the dark heart of an age of fundamental change. And if you look at the various documents and the declarations that have emerged, that have emanated as a result of very serious and profound deliberations at each of the parliament of the world's religions, starting from 1893, which was a very historic year, when for the first time, all the religious communities were represented at one place, at one platform. And that process only gathered momentum, particularly in the last 30 years, when the centenary of the Parliament of the World's Religions was held in 1993. And if you look at the documents and the deliberations that were recorded for wider dissemination throughout the world, we notice that the interfaith discourse must address how the three protagonists that constitute the society, the three protagonists are the individuals, the institutions, and the communities. So these spaces of interfaith discourse have brought all of humanity on several occasions together to address not only how religious communities need to evolve to address the important and grim topics. In the beginning, it was largely to do with how to prevent religiously motivated violence, how to bring about better understanding through dialogue, how to disseminate the fundamental principles and the basic teachings of each of the religions in a manner that the person who doesn't belong to that religion could also appreciate and understand that there is a common thread among all the religious communities. And once again, at the recent parliament, they emphasize a great deal on that universal ethic, the golden rule. And every year, there is an Interfaith Harmony Week, which the United Nations established some years ago. It must be already now 15 years ago. And the first 7 days of the month of February are termed as the Interfaith Harmony Week. So, dear friends, distinguished representatives and leaders of religious communities, we see that the interfaith discourse has come a long way. And as we heard the words of wisdom from Reverend Deborah Moldo, she has listed the burning topics of climate emergency, the population crisis, the huge movement of masses of populations, and also the desire for developing systems of governance, of coordination, of communication that will address every man, woman, youth, and child. So at each of the parliaments of religions, I saw that there is a large amount of spaces also devoted to children's activities, to programs for the youth, to the gender justice and the gender equality. So if I, as an interfaith person and also as a member of the Baha'i community, have to address the topic of peace, I could list out 5 important subjects that need to be very urgently addressed. And we won't be able to have unity unless these issues are addressed. The very first topic that prevents unity at a macro level is the frontiers or the international borders of each of the member states of the United Nations system are still not definitely stated or determined. And one big reason why we have wars is because of this lack of clarity about the territorial demarcation of many nation states. So this has to be addressed at a global level. The United Nations at the end of World War II was established to ensure that there would be no more wars. But unfortunately, that particular responsibility, the United Nations has woefully failed. And the reason is the 5 permanent members of the Security Council with the veto power have their own agendas. And even if the General Assembly of the United Nations passes unanimous decisions, yet if it does not suit one permanent member of the Security Council, the entire decision is vetoed. So we know from the history of the UN system how difficult it is to get all the members of the nation states to work collectively. The one area that they have come together and express a serious desire to work together is in addressing the climate emergencies. Because climate crisis, environmental degradation, this affects the entire human race. One of the big topics, again, at the Chicago Parliament in the month of August was how to save the Amazon forests. We all know that the Amazon forests, they actually determine 20% of the rainfall. And there are many other environmental issues connected to the preservation of the forests in all of the countries around the world. So that we have seen that environmental crises are becoming more and more acute, and they will become more extreme as global warming begins to hit us even more severely. So both these issues are a great threat to the survival of the human race. The other important issue is our systems of governance. We all say that the democratic manner, the democratic process of governance, that is government of the people, by the people, for the people, is the best form of government. But it is quite evident that democracy has serious limitations. So we need to find alternative ways for establishing new institutions of governance that would ensure that the last person in the society, the last mile connectivity, the least of among the privileged members of the society, the oppressed, the vulnerable, the children and the women, the downtrodden, all of their concerns are addressed. Today, unfortunately, the leaders or the arbiters at the helm of power they aren't able to take decisions. And it has become quite evident that the present-day structures of society are ill-prepared to address the needs of humanity in its current travails. So the Baha'is have been, for a century and a half, talking about the importance of the interdependence of all humankind, the importance of accepting the oneness of humanity, even though we were hit by COVID-19 virus, and for 2.5 years, the entire humankind went through a great turmoil in its health infrastructure, yet they did not learn the lessons and the importance of our interdependence and oneness. So oneness of humanity is a very fundamental principle that the Baha'is have been advocating through their service programs. And our service programs are anchored upon 4 core activities. The first is family devotionals. We feel that every family has to be encouraged, that they must take out some time from whatever schedules they have to come together and pray together. Whatever may be their belief system, but they must come together and turn to that higher intangible reality called God, Allah, Bhagwan, Ishwar, that cosmic reality, and feel themselves connected. The second is our children. Every community has to have children's classes. So we make sure that families that have children would send their children to these children's classes, where they again learn the importance of prayers. They learn to memorize different shlokas from the Holy Scriptures. They learn to appreciate each other, because every child is the light of the world, and at the same time, it's darkness. If a child is brought up in an atmosphere of positivity, of love, affection, that child, becomes psychologically strong, is able to address problems and challenges, and not go astray. The third category is the junior youth. These are the teenagers in the age group of 11 and 16. They are highly impressionable and they are acutely conscious. Oftentimes, they are extremely puzzled by what is happening in the society, the violence, the injustice. And they ask questions and they don't get answers that are satisfactory. So the Junior Youth Spiritual Empowerment Program is establishing groups of these young people, and we have a curricula which is universal in scope, which talks about the best of the values and the virtues that are embedded in every human being, and how these, when applied in our daily lives, help us to establish unity, to stay connected, to appreciate the diversity.
Be involved, everybody make effort. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
And the
Dr.
fourth category,
Dr. Mergen?
yeah, there's, yes,
Dr.
I
Mergen?
can see there's some external.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
but
if
the
you
fourth
could just
category-
sum up within, if you could just sum up within a minute.
Okay,
So,
yes. The
yeah.
fourth category is, the study circles. Because one of the very important and passionate endeavors of the Baha'i community worldwide is to be able to appreciate how science and technology on the one hand, religion and spirituality on the other, when there is a healthy interface, when there is a complementarity, they can help us to advance civilization. Because these are the two systems of knowledge which the Baha'is have been advocating and promoting, that can help humanity to solve the problems that we are facing. Because through spirituality and religion, we understand the purpose of our life, of why we are here on this earth. And through science and technology, we are able to discover the mysteries of the physical world. And today we have seen how every human being has seen the impact of technology, even in the remotest of village, in the poorest of the countries. Technology has impacted the lives of everyone. So today, again, how do we harness the positive forces of both these systems of knowledge so that civilization can march forward? So these are all very pressing concerns, and we must make sure that children grow up in a spirit of appreciating tolerance, accommodation, acceptance of each other. And it's all linked to an educational package, which again, we are thankful that the UNESCO gave a framework, curriculum framework for the 21st century, wherein the 4 pillars, learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be, can become the foundational blocks for bringing about unity and helping to establish peace. Not only world peace, which is at a great macro level, starting with peace within, peace in the family, peace in our communities, peace in our nation, and peace in the whole world. So these are a few things that I'm able to share. And I believe that the interfaith discourse will go on from strength to strength, despite being hard-pressed in terms of harnessing resources, because we don't have corporates that come forward to help religious discourses or interfaith conferences. It's a lot of hard work, and it's quite a painful endeavor in being able to muster up enough resources to take this cause forward. The Baha'is have always supported, because we believe that religion of humankind is one. It is progressive and continuous. And my last statement would be what Baha'u'llah said 150 years ago: the earth is but one country, and humankind its citizens. The tabernacle of unity had been raised. Regard ye not one another as strangers. Ye are the fruits of one tree and the leaves of one branch, the waves of one sea and the drops of one ocean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Merchant. Irina?
Thank you, Dr. Merchant. Our next speaker is Audrey Kitagawa. Audrey couldn't be with us today, but she has pre-recorded her remarks. Audrey Kitagawa is the founder, president of the International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation. She's the president of the Light of Awareness International Spiritual Family and the chair of the Anti-Racism Initiative. Audrey is also co-chair of the Gender Equality Working Group of the G20 Interfaith Forum, a UN representative for URI, and an ambassador for Religions for Peace International. So let's hear from Audrey.
We just had a big interfaith forum.
Hello, everyone from New York City. I wish to express my deepest appreciation to Yanni Maniatis and Ben Bowler for this invitation to participate in Unity Earth's Peace Week. It is a privilege to share my reflections on the theme, Peace Through Unity, and to share how my communities are helping to usher in the new Earth. The new Earth is a vision which we all hold for our future, which we must diligently work towards today and every day, so this vision can become a concretized reality. It is a vision where we live together in peace and help each other with loving hearts that are motivated by compassion and kindness. We are all members of this Earth community, comprised of a myriad of diverse species. As such, complexities necessarily arise as each life form is given the gift of sacred life that seeks its own flourishing and preservation. The aspect of peace through unity is therefore an important concept that we should embrace to shift our mindsets from competition to cooperation for the mutual benefit of all of our survivability. The concept of competition has been our modus operandi through the ages. Many wars have been fought over territorial dominance, resource acquisitions, and financial preeminence. We have enmeshed our identities with material success that perpetuates elitism through wealth and materiality. This has come at a great cost to the degradation of the earth and the ever-widening gap between the uber-wealthy and the poor. We face the existential threats of climate change, loss of biodiversity, ramping up the creation of more sophisticated machineries of war, upgrading our nuclear weapons, and have over 32 wars going on in the world right now. As the permafrosts melt and the emperor penguin communities see none of their chicks survive, they portend our own future survivability as a species as well. Our human behaviors have now created a tipping point with nature where its regenerative capacities have become severely impaired. With these vast global threats, often a sense of hopelessness and despair have settled upon us like a heavy, dark cloud. However, we were born with creative intelligence, and the profound essence of love as integral to who we are keeps hope alive as we seek out each other for inspiration and models of cooperative behavior that we can replicate in our own communities. These convenings help us to hear what groups all around the world are doing to make this world a better place. I've been asked to share about what the communities with which I am engaged are doing. The International Academy for Multicultural Cooperation, also known as IAMC for short, of which I am president and founder, provides a platform for international scholars, religious faith leaders, activists, and humanitarians to share their hopeful visions, ideas, and plans of action for a more peaceful and loving world. Our mission is to cultivate new pathways towards peace, equality, justice, and well-being through collaboration amongst people of diverse cultures and faith traditions. Our focus areas include security and sustainability, climate and the environment, human security and well-being, Indigenous peoples, women's leadership and empowerment, and diplomacy and multiculturalism. We host webinars, engage with many other organizations, and highlight the work of our International Advisory Council members who each have, in their own way, made the pursuit of human well-being and global peace their life's work. We also have an active film division that creates films which address our global challenges and provide approaches to solutions undergirded by the sacred values, ethics, and moral compass of our sacred traditions. I was born and raised in Hawaii, so the land of aloha or love, which was recently devastated by the effects of wildfires that burned down beautiful Lahaina on the island of Maui, demonstrated the power of civil society to band together to help each other in their time of need. When government responses were slow to help the people who were affected by the disaster, the ohana, which is Hawaiian for family, stepped up to the plate to distribute water, food, and other necessities. Dr. Manulani Mayer, a member of the Advisory Council of IAMC, recently sent me an email that said, "Let us intentionalize together our process of healing ourselves and our Aina aloha." Aina stands for land. Our ancestral land is a source of our strength, a point between two infinities, in between two stories, old and new. We are changing and expanding in correlation with our land. The inevitability of growth is certain. Therefore, clarity in our understanding, along with the purpose and meaning of our people, land, and values is necessary for our salvation. Whereas people and land are of one essence, the stability and health of the two parallel each other. During these times, let us turn our hands downward and work on ourselves through our land. The breadth of opportunities in learning, living, and loving our beloved land is expanding at a rapid pace, presenting us with accelerated answers and divine repositioning. The extension of our intentions during these times will be reflected in all of these spaces. Thank you, Dr. Mayer, for sharing these beautiful words with us that take our hearts back to the remembrance of our sacred relationality to our land and each other. Coretta Scott King said, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." We will be called upon many times over to demonstrate our greatness in all of the big and small ways that give us opportunities to share our compassionate actions as we face together the many challenges of a rapidly changing world. May this remembrance help us to bring peace through unity. May we be guided in all ways by the divine light and love from which we were all born and to which we shall all return. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Audrey. Yanni, who's our next speaker?
Yes, thank you, Audrey, for sending in inspiring video. Our next speaker is Patrick Carlin, and who is a Catholic activist, organizer, and writer. And he served as the executive director of the Franciscan Network for 10 years. He also co-founded the Global Catholic Climate Movement and Catholics Vote Common Good. His writing and activism are centered on his understanding and belief through Franciscan spirituality, the connectedness of all creation in God. Patrick.
Well, thank you very much. I'm blessed and honored to be here with all of you today, particularly with the group of speakers that we have here. I feel a little out of place. I'm not a theologian. I'm an activist. I'm more likely to be getting arrested and going to jail than I am to be speaking about theology or things like that. So I am blessed to be here. As Yanni had mentioned, my spiritual faith tradition is Catholic Franciscan. That's my community. And today we're discussing the question of how is your community bringing peace through unity to our world and thus helping to usher in a new earth? It's an interesting question, but I think to answer this in a meaningful way, we first have to reflect on what we mean by community. Throughout our history, the term community has meant many, many things. It's been used, it's been used both good and bad. It's been used to bring us together and to separate us. It sometimes defines who is in and who is out. Communities used to be more defined by where you live and what your spiritual faith tradition is. They tended to share the same story. Several hundred years ago, you were most likely born and spent your entire life in that community. Now, with the advent of mass transportation and social media, our community is not limited by geography or traditional beliefs. I was recently at a grocery store. I was buying a package of gluten-free vegetarian burgers. I noticed on the package an icon with a message, scan here to join the Beyond Meat Facebook community. I thought, wow, even my veggie burgers have a community. I've seen a definition of community that reads, a group of people that care about each other and feel they belong together. This sounds very nice and very altruistic. But if we use this definition to create our new earth, then we are simply falling into the same trap that our predecessors did in creating the old earth. We're starting from the concept of anthropocentrism, human-centered earth. The late 20th century Catholic priest and visionary thinker Thomas Berry wrote, "We will go into the future as a single sacred community, or we will all perish in the desert." Tom Berry wasn't talking about how we practice our religion. He wasn't suggesting that we all become Catholic or Muslim or Hindu or whatever religious practice. He was talking about a spirituality of oneness, the interconnectedness of all creation. Barry followed a long line of visionary spiritual thinkers from all religions who taught and lived a spirituality not of separation, but of oneness. Folks like St. Francis of Assisi and the early 13th century Muslim Sufi visionary Shams Tabrizi. I can find mystical visionary thinkers throughout our entire history in every religious tradition who tell us about a spirituality of oneness. I don't know, it's just a thought, but maybe we should start listening to them. Today, we see our churches as being fueled by theologies of separation, shame, punishment, and damnation. We experience our liturgies as being obsessed with individual salvation, appeasing a demanding God, so our individual souls can assure their ticket to heaven when we die. We encounter our institutions, our communities, as being more concerned with their own power and privilege in survival than with the common good. As Carl Jung wrote, if our religion is based on salvation, our chief emotions will be fear and trembling. Thomas Berry also wrote in his book, The Dream of Earth, the deepest crisis experienced by any society are those moments of change when the story becomes inadequate for meeting the survival demands of a present situation. Do you kind of feel like that's where we are today, in that place? So if we're serious about creating a new earth, we have to start with a new story. In our communities, we have to live that new story. This is not to demean or diminish our old stories. They were written from the lens and knowledge and beliefs of that period, a lens that had a whole different understanding of the cosmos than we do today. They were written from the perspective of anthropocentrism, human-centered. There is a richness and a beauty in our sacred stories. So to use an old Irish expression, you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But we do need to reimagine those stories. The earliest 20th century Jesuit priest and theologian Teilhard de Chardin said, "We must evolve or we will be annihilated." He wasn't talking about a physical evolution. He was referring to a spiritual evolution. These stories, especially those from our Abrahamic traditions, were initially told from the view of dominionism. We have dominion over creation. Some 60 or 70 years ago, we started evolving away from that theology. We started talking about stewardship, being good stewards of creation. We used the term caring for creation. I've used it a lot. I used it all the time. I even developed a program centered around caring for creation. And then I came to realize that stewardship is nothing more than a dominionist with a conscience. It was still hierarchical, human-centered. We thought our purpose was to be in right relationship with God. We created communities and rituals around that purpose. We felt that if we prayed the right prayers, meditated the right amount of time, we would get that golden ticket to salvation. In reality, our purpose is to be in right relationship with creation. And in doing so, we will be in right relationship with God because God is creation. The irony is that through science, especially through quantum physics, we are starting to understand what our spiritual mystics knew all along. We are all part of the oneness. We are all interconnected. So if we want to go back to the question of what we can do, we can start by reimagining and retelling our stories. We can retell them not from the human-centered perspective, but from the understanding as the earliest 13th century Franciscan theologian and philosopher John Duns Scotus described the univocity of being, the sacredness of everything, and our connection with everything. Only when we start to tell and live our stories from that perspective and with that understanding will we then begin to create a new earth. Thank you. Peace and all good.
Thank you, Patrick. That was wonderful. Thank you. Marina?
Our next speaker is Sadhvi Bhagawati Saraswati, or Sadhvaji. Sadhvaji is a spiritual leader, motivational speaker, and social activist. She's based in Rishikesh, India, and she's also Secretary General of Global Interfaith Wash Alliance, as well as the President of Divine Shakti Foundation. Sadhvaji is an author of #1 best-selling memoir, Hollywood to the Himalayas, A Journey of Healing and Transformation. Sadhaji also couldn't be with us today, but she has sent the video message to share. So let's hear from Sadhaji.
On the importance of unity in peace. As long as we feel separate from each other, we're never going to have real peace. Yes, we can be nice to each other temporarily. Yes, we can tolerate each other temporarily. But in terms of a peace that is deeper, more sustainable, more lasting than just tolerating each other, and especially in terms of a peace that extends into co-creating a sustainable world, we need to realize we are not separate. There is no place any of us ends and the other begins. There's no place we end and Mother Earth begins. One of the most beautiful, beautiful teachings of spirituality is this awareness that actually we are one. We have been created not just by the Creator, but of the Creator, which means that that Creator, that divine, whatever word, it doesn't matter, however you connect with the divine, but that Creator, that divine presence, that soul, spirit, consciousness, love, truth, whatever word we use, that is the core of who I am. And it is the core of who you are. We're here in different packages, different sizes, different shapes, different colors. We were manufactured in different cities of the world in different years and colored in different ways and therefore given different experiences. But at the ultimate core, we are the same. And on a deep spiritual level, that's actually our highest goal, is to be able to see the self, the capital S self, in others. When we serve, when we do seva, which is considered, one of the greatest spiritual practices, this practice of karma yoga, letting every action be in the service of union, letting every action be that which arises out of union. Because yoga, the word actually means union. Karma, the word actually means action. So karma yoga is action that arises out of the awareness of our union, and also action that leads to greater awareness of union. So when we do our seva, our selfless service, this karma yoga, it's not about, me as the great humanitarian over here, helping you who's the poor one over there. It's not about me who has giving to you who don't have. It's actually about me serving myself in you. The empty stomach I am feeding might sit in your body, but it is me. And that's the foundation for real seva, for real karma yoga, is that awareness. I'm not serving you. I'm serving self. That same spirit that flows through me, that same divinity, that same soul, that same consciousness, that same oneness that flows through me, flows through you. So in the same way that I feed my tummy or scratch my arm or take care of my body, I take care of you because we are one. And in terms of our foundations, our work, well, at Parmarth Nikathan, in Rishikesh, India, on the banks of Mother Ganga, the Ganges River, in the lap of the sacred Himalayas, each evening in our sacred arti ceremony, this lighting ceremony that we have on the banks of the Ganga, led by His Holiness Puja Swami Chidananda Saraswati Ji, my guru and the head of Paramarth Nikethan. As he leads us in that ceremony, each evening we actually speak to all of the many hundreds and many thousands, many hundreds minimum, many thousands and thousands on full days. We speak to the people gathered and remind them every night that as we are here worshiping, celebrating, praying to the Creator, simultaneously we pledge to protect and preserve the creation. And so that union of creator and creation. And we remind people every night, look around you. Look at all of these people of different colors, different races, different religions, different nationalities. We are one as one family. And we remind everybody that this is one family, that we are not separate. Not separate from each other, not separate from the sacred Ganga, not separate from the trees, not separate from the blades of grass, not separate from the air, not separate from the species inhabiting the Himalayas, inhabiting the flowing river, that we are not separate from any of it. In our Global Interfaith WASH Alliance, our foundation dedicated to water, sanitation, hygiene, and environmental protection, we bring leaders of all of the different religions together, leaders and communities together, working together for a water-safe, hygienic, sanitary, sustainable, preserved, healthy, happy, harmonious world. So we're uniting these communities in the service of what we call an expanded definition of peace. That it's no longer enough to just say, thou shalt not kill. If we are not working to protect the air, to protect the water, to protect the soil, to ensure that everyone has access to that water, to that clean air, to that clean soil, to that clean earth, then their blood is on our hands, just as if we had launched a grenade into their house of worship. So in so many ways, we are working to unite. Lastly, at our International Yoga Festival every year, at Paramarth Nikethan every year in March, we bring thousands of people from about 100 countries in the world together, doing yoga on the banks of Ganga. Not just asanas, not just the physical postures, not just breathing exercises, but actually coming together to meditate, to pray, to celebrate, to remember and realize our inherent oneness and unity. So there's so many ways that we are working to be channels of bringing this truth, awareness of this truth, to our sisters and brothers across the world. And it's such a joy to be together with you all on this special day, because peace needs this expanded definition. Peace must now include ensuring that people have access to human rights, to clean water, to clean soil, to clean air, to clean food. And together, we remember there is no place. I end and you begin. We are one. And as long as there is hunger in your belly, pain in your life, we cannot actually live in peace. So I'm so touched to be together with you all today, and best wishes, so much love, and a deep, deep spirit of awareness of oneness with you all at this special time.
Thank you, Saviji. We appreciate that video very much. And now I'd like to ask Reverend Diane Burke to speak. And Reverend Burke is a visionary spiritual leader, author, and educator who has dedicated her life to guiding others on their inner journeys. As founder and spiritual director of One Spirit Learning Alliance, an interspiritual educational organization, she has inspired countless individuals to live lives of purpose, meaning, and service. With a background in psychology and a deep understanding of diverse spiritual traditions, Diane seamlessly bridges the psychological and spiritual realms to offer transformative teachings, spiritual inspiration, and companionship on the journey of awakening. Her compassion, wisdom, and commitment to service have made her a respected figure in the field of spiritual development. Diane, we look forward to your comments.
Thank you, Yanni, and thank you to all of our speakers so far. It's been incredibly rich, incredibly inspiring, incredibly uplifting. And as I listen to all of you, I find myself thinking, so with all this stuff going on, why is the world such a mess? And what I have found myself being drawn to in trying to make sense of where we find ourselves these days is to, as Yanni said, to including the psychological along with the spiritual, and to including the wisdom of the artists, particularly for me, particularly the poets. And so as I started reflecting on peace as a theme, this poem by Dorothy Hunt came to mind. It's called "Peace is This Moment Without Judgment." Do you think peace requires an end to war? Or tigers eating only vegetables?
Has she froze to everyone, or yeah? Shall we go
Yes,
to?
yeah, it seems that she has.
Oh, she's out now. Let me just let
We
her
lost
know.
her now.
I was going to write
Let me
that in
just
the chat
text her.
box.
All right.
Um,
Well, in the meantime, we might.
I wanted to hear more about tigers eating vegetables.
I know.
Yes, yeah.
And she has the
That
greatest
seemed to be
poem.
very interesting.
She just wrote me, "Oi, circuit blue again. Go on to the next speaker, and I'll try to get back on."
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead, Irina. I'll take care of this.
All right. So we'll move on to our next speaker, which is Dr. Jatindra Dave. Dr. Dave is an academic scholar with special focus on philosophy and culture, actively involved in the translation of culture and philosophy into everyday life and its presentation. Dr. Dave is an author of numerous papers, publications, and lectures. He's currently director of Akshardham Temple in New Delhi, and he delivered 5 presentations on Hinduism at 2nd to 6th Congress of the Leaders of World and Traditional Religions at Astana in Kazakhstan. Dr. Dave, the floor is yours. You'll have to take yourself off mute.
Please unmute.
Mr.
Dr.
Yanni
Dave.
and Ms. Irina, my dear friends, AK Merchant, and all those who are here. Friends, you know, the word Shanti is the word for peace. And that word Shanti or peace is so important from the ancient time in most important Indian scriptures called the Vedas. And I would like to speak one or two, sentences or stanzas. I'm sorry it is in Sanskrit, but I'll try to translate into English as well. In the Yajurveda, the stanza says, Om Dyauhu Shantihi Antariksha Shantihi Prithvi Shantihi Apa Shantihi Aushadaya Shantihi Vanaspataya Shantihi Vishwe Devaha Shantihi Brahma Shantihi Sarva Shanti. Let there be peace, real peace, everywhere in the world, right from the sky to the ocean and the whole world. So, in India at least, people understood the value of Shanti. But friends, when do we have that concept into our day-to-day life? That, Shanti is possible when you are ready to give your self-interest up for the betterment of others. As long as your self-interest or the interest of a community or a nation or religion is in the center, you will not be able to establish real Shanti or the peace. And therefore, friends, I want to give you, within my time limits of 5 to 6 minutes only, a very important episode that has happened in the 21st century. And that is about the worst attack on one of the best temples of the world and of India, Akshardham, Gandhinagar, in the year 2002, 24 September, the same month of this, but the year was 2002. The Akshardham temple was attacked by 2 terrorists who claimed them to be, themselves to be Islamist. And they killed more than 45 people and wounded more than 100 visitors. And there was so much agony among the people of Gandhinagar, the capital of Gujarat, a very important state of India, and the followers, But at that time, what action, what reaction, what response should be given is a very important example. If you really want to bring peace in the world, I want to show that little video of my teacher who declared that for the sake of 2 misguided people, we should not blame the entire Muslim community or Islamic community or any country. And when, the Indian Defense Forces people that came, the whole evening to the next day morning, they tried to find out the terrorists. They found them out. They killed those 2 persons. And when, it was a ceremony to put the holy water and to pray for all those who were killed, my teacher also prayed for those killers, those terrorists, and prayed to God that in the next birth, at least, they should not be misguided. Let's have that video film if we can. Can you start that video, or shall I have to start from here?
I don't think we got a chance to download it, so if you can do it from where you are.
Okay, well, I'll try to.
Yeah.
1 second. Okay.
Irina, do you have it?
Yes, I have. I will try to.
Okay.
I don't have it now.
Okay, I will try to.
आतंकी हमले के समाचार सुनते ही स्वामी जी तुरंत भगवान के नाम स्मरण में मग्न हो गए। उन्होंने कहा, भगवान से प्रार्थना करते हैं कि अधिक हिंसा ना हो और आतंकवादी जल्द ही पकड़े जाए। साथ साथ सारंगपुर में संतों हरिभक्तों को भगवान के समक्ष प्रार्थना एवं नाम स्मरण करने का आदेश दे दिया। धार्मिक स्थल पर हुए इस हमले से समाज में सांप्रदायिक वैमनस्य और आक्रोश उत्पन्न होना स्वाभाविक था, परंतु प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज ने प्रसार माध्यमों के द्वारा फौरन राज्य और देश के हित में शांति की अद्भुत अपील की।
गुजरात में भारतમાં ક્યાંય અશાંતિ કોઈ પણ જાતની ન થાય અને દરેક જીવનમાં શાંતિ રાખે એવી પણ અમારી એક અપીલ પ્રાર્થના અમે કરેલી છે, કારણ કે આ વખતે થવાનું છે થયું છે તો એનો ઉકેલ તો ભગવાન જ લાવવાના।
स्वामी जी ने प्रजाजनों को प्रत्याघात में नहीं, प्रार्थना की ओर प्रेरित करके संत के आधारभूत सद्गुण सहनशीलता और सहिष्णुता को आज प्रत्यक्ष कर दिए। दिनांक 29 सितंबर को स्वामी श्री ने अहमदाबाद की सिविल हॉस्पिटल में प्रत्येक घायल व्यक्ति से मुलाकात ली, सभी को आश्वासन दिया, उनके आंसू पूछे। हर धर्म हर वर्ग का स्वागत करने वाला अक्षरधाम मंदिर शांति का स्मारक है। इस तनावपूर्ण स्थिति में भी स्वामी श्री ने शांति और प्रेम भावना को बनाए रखने के लिए प्रार्थना को ही ब्रह्मास्त्र बनाया। हाँ, अक्षरधाम परिसर में आयोजित शांति और श्रद्धांजलि सभा में 30,000 से अधिक लोग इस अभूतपूर्व प्रतिभाव के साक्षी बने। ये सभा इतिहास के स्वर्ण पृष्ठों पर प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज की क्षमाशीलता की अद्भुत मिसाल बन गई।
And it's one thing that I've learned, to talk about peace and acceptance. It is another to do the work of God. And when the temple was attacked, Swami took the strong position, the hard position of bringing peace, not violence, of stopping the cycle from my family to your family, to Swami. Thank you for everything that you do.
बात है 25 अप्रैल 2007 की, जब यूरोपियन यूनियन के स्वर्ण जयंती अवसर पर डॉक्टर कलाम को भाषण देने का निमंत्रण दिया गया था। डॉक्टर कलाम अपने प्रवचन में प्रमुख स्वामी जी के द्वारा दिए गए मानवता और नैतिकता के मूल्यों को दोहराना चाहते थे, किंतु उनके मन में घबराहट थी। क्या मैं अपने विचारों को व्यक्त कर पाऊंगा? क्या वे लोग मुझे सुनेंगे? प्रमुख स्वामी महाराज का स्मरण करते हुए जब उन्होंने प्रवचन का आरंभ किया,
Now what we need is a carrier of eternal goodness and wholesomeness in human contact, which is called righteousness. Righteousness. As we say in India, where there is righteousness in the heart, where there is righteousness in the heart, there is beauty in the character. When there is beauty in the character, there is harmony in the home. When there is harmony in the home, there is harmony, there is an order in the nation. When there is order in the nation, there is peace in the world.
पूरी संसद ने स्टैंडिंग ओवेशन देकर कलाम साहब को बधाई दी।
Mr. President Abdul Kalam, in the name of the European Parliament, I want to thank you for this important and inspiring speech. This was one of the most extraordinary speeches we have ever heard.
यूरोपियन यूनियन के प्रमुख ने कहा कि मिस्टर कलाम, आज आपका भाषण भगवान प्रेरित था। तब कलाम साहब को प्रमुख स्वामी जी की वो मुलाकात याद आई।
Hello. Can you listen, please?
Thank you, Dr. Dave. Yeah, if you have a closing comment
Now,
or two.
why I showed this video to you, because President APJ Abdul Kalam, a great scientist of India, a Muslim by birth, he accepted my teacher as his ultimate teacher. And he said in this book, Transcendence, that you have put me into the orbit of God by telling that unless and until you are ready to sacrifice your self-interest, you will not be able to get the peace in the home, in the family, in the city, and in the country. And friends, therefore, I also want to say, we are talking about peace a lot, but then something dangerous and difficult happens in our own life. We have to take the view from all the points of view, 360 degrees. And if it is for the betterment of the humanity, we should be ready to sacrifice our sole self-interest, as my teacher sacrificed his own interest, because his own priest also was killed in that. But he never said, an eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. Thank you.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Dr. Dave. Thank you. A real blessing. And Diane, we are waiting for the rest of the words of that poem. Deborah was very disappointed. And so why don't you rewind? Thank you. Hopefully you make it this time.
Thank you again, Yanni. So this was actually a perfect opportunity to practice exactly what I was planning to talk about. So let me go back to the poem for a moment. Again, Dorothy Hunt, peace is this moment without judgment. Do you think peace requires an end to war? Or tigers eating only vegetables? Does peace require an absence from your boss, your spouse, yourself? Do you think peace will come some other place than here? Some other time than now? In some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment, this moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. So what happened a few minutes ago is that a circuit breaker in my apartment blew, and that generally happens when there are too many devices that are drawing on the same energy circuit at the same time. And I immediately watched myself become furious in an instant with my housemate and found myself wanting to blame her for the circuit breaker blowing. And that quickly, I threw my own experience of peace out the window. So we just heard about a situation where, in the face of, incredible physical violence and hatred, a spiritual leader chose peace and forgiveness. Yet what strikes me is how in every moment of our lives, we also have a choice when something doesn't go the way we want it to blame or to choose peace. One of my spiritual teachers once said, first we are the same in the ego. First we are one in the ego. Then we are one in truth. And for me right now, what I'm seeing in myself, in the people in every community I'm part of, is that the first place that peace is lost is in our tendency to otherize and blame other people for the difficulties and the problems that we're experiencing in our world. And that in psychological terms, that's called projecting our shadow out onto the world and saying the reason there is no peace is because of them. And as long as we do that, as long as we see the other, we can talk all we want to about oneness and unity, but we're not embodying it and living it within our own consciousness. So for me, over and over again, that's what some of the work, some of the deepest work keeps coming back to. The things that people have described today in terms of social activism and efforts to bring about external expressions of unity and peace are so important and so powerful and so beautiful. But if we really believe that a change in consciousness is what will be needed to truly transform the world, then we need to be willing to do the inner work moment to moment to moment in looking at our own reactions, our own tendencies to otherize and blame. And Rumi said our task is not to seek for love because we already are that. Our task is to seek and find and release all of the barriers within our own being, our own consciousness that we have placed between ourselves and our knowing of ourselves as love. Thank you.
Beautiful, Diane. Interesting how things flow in their divine way. We have one more presentation, which will be on video, and we have time constraints. These videos need to be no more than 80 or maybe a little bit over that, so that they can be a break into the next program after ours. Ours is being recorded. So we won't have time for that 2-minute reflection after, which is unfortunate, but I would like to, and why I'm saying this now is to have some time to reflect on it. If you could think of a word or a sentence that you wanted to kind of just offer in closing, and I really would have to keep it to that, because we're simply going to have a technical problem if we don't do that. Just give some thought to what you might want to share with everyone, and a word or a sentence. And I know that's not much, but we don't really have time to do more than that. So I would like, though, to introduce Dr. Mahinder Singh, and we'll play his video. Dr. Singh is Professor Director at the National Institute of Punjab Studies in New Delhi, and is a well-known interfaith leader, having represented the Sikh tradition during interfaith meetings at the Vatican, Canterbury, Tokyo, and other conferences. He was on the Council of IARF, URI, TOU, and others, and he is the author of several books, and the latest one being a work called Guru Nanak, Life and Legacy, which was launched in the Presidential Palace in New Delhi on the 5th of November, 2019. So, Rena, we can see Dr. Mahinder Singh's video.
My friend Yani Miniatis and fellow pilgrims in our march towards peace, I'm grateful to the organizers of this panel for asking me to share my thoughts on the role of Sikh religion in promoting peace through unity. As you are well aware, Sikh religion was founded by Guru Nanak, who was born in 1469. Upon enlightenment, the first words that he uttered were "Na ko Hindu, na Musalman." That is, after my enlightenment, I do not see anyone as Hindu or Muslim because they are all children of one universal God. To share his message of unity, Guru Nanak visited various places and met sages and saints from other traditions, and he believed that dialogue is very important, and for having a real dialogue, he believed that initiative should be with the other person. He said, "Which दुनिया जब लग रही है नानक किच सुनिए किच कहिए." That is, so long as we live in this world, we should listen to others before uttering our own sermon. That was his model of interfaith dialogue. During his travels in different parts of India, the Guru also visited Multan, a city which was known for saints from different traditions inhabiting this town. The local saints offered Guru Nanak a bowl full of milk. The message was, there are already many saints, there is no more place to accommodate a new entrant. Guru Nanak did not enter into any debate with them, but quietly placed a petal of jasmine in the bowl, indicating thereby the way this petal doesn't take any additional place. I and my followers will coexist with members of other faith without disturbing society. Now, because of this vast means of communications, the world has become a global village, and it needs more and more of interfaith dialogue. Now, the Guru, after completing his journeys called Udasis, settled in a village and named it as Kartarpur, that is, City of God. It was here that the Guru put into practice his teachings of equality. This was a commune where everyone, including Nanak himself, will get up early morning. After ablutions, they will collectively say the morning prayer, then eat meal in the community kitchen, and thereafter they work and plough the field. It's interesting to note that Guru Nanak, in spite of his old age, was himself cultivating the land. That is the message that he gave, that work is important. Now, the institution of Langar was started by Guru Nanak, and this was strengthened by his successive Gurus, because it is only through serving meals that you demonstrate compassion and equality. For sharing Guru ka meal, you have to sit in one line at par with each other. There is no one high, no one low. The tradition says the Emperor Akbar went to meet the Guru, and he says, before having an audience with me, you have to sit and take meal in the langar along with the nobles and servants, all in one line. Now, this tradition has brought Sikhs worldwide acclaim as they serve free meals, the langar, in different areas where there is war and conflict, where there are natural calamities like floods and other occasions. Now, I remember when I visited the Parliament of World Religions in Barcelona, Bhai Mohinder Singh, head of the Nishkam Sevak Jatha, Birmingham, UK, put up a big tent on the beach, and he started serving good food, langar, to every participant. They were wondering how this is being managed. when towards the end they were asking for opinion as to which is the best session, everyone said Langar was the best session of the conference. And I'm happy to share with you that the tradition is being carried on by Sahib, and in the recently concluded Parliament of World Religion in Chicago, Langar was served by the Jatha. At a time when there is growing civilizational conflict, message of Guru Nanak and other saints and sages of Bhakti and Sufi movement from India is relevant to transcend the boundaries created in the name of religion. Now, world has become global. This has become one village. To avoid conflict, we need one religion. And you will wonder which is going to be that one religion for whole humanity. I will not say it is Sikhism, but I like to quote from the Sikh scripture, Sarab Dharam Mein Shresth Dharam, Har ko Naam Jap Nirmal Karam. That is the religion he recommended. That is, of all the religions, the best religion is remembering God and doing pious deeds. Thank you.
Thank you, Rinder, and thank you all. And again, apologies for asking you to have a reflection that is as short as a sentence or so. But I unfortunately have to do that. So would anyone like to start first and just offer, most a sentence or two?
Well, I would like to say that, may I?
Go ahead, Dr. Murthy.
So
You had your
wonderful.
hand up first.
Yeah, so wonderful that Brother Yanni Maniatis, spiritual sister Rina Morrison, and Brother Ben Bowler of One Earth have brought us together. We are all endeavoring, along with other kindred souls, to appreciate the copious blessings of the benevolent Lord to make this world a better place, a united place, and a happy place.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Patrick, I think I saw you.
I did. I'll close with just a quote I used in my talk from Thomas Berry. We will go into the future as a single sacred community, or we will all perish in the desert.
Thank you. Any, Diane? Oh, you're on mute, Diane. You're muted, Diane.
Four short sentences from a poet, Rosemary Watola Trummer. All it takes is a photo of Earth from space, and I'm stunned again how much we are in this together. And though we'd rather not know it, every choice we make affects everyone, everything else. It can happen anywhere on this small blue and green planet, anywhere two people coexist. The invitation to be generous, thoughtful, to think of new ways to be good to each other. Each kindness a bridge that spans the world's flaws, each moment another chance to build that bridge.
Diane, send us both poems and we might put them up on the description of the course.
Thank you.
Who else would like to go? We have 2, 3 more in here. Trevor, you're not muted, so I don't know if that means you want to speak. Okay, go ahead.
I just want to thank you all for your powerful words from the heart. You give me such hope for peace through unity. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Dr. Dave, would you like to offer?
Oh, I'm really thankful to you, and thankful to especially my friend A.K. Merchant, because his organization and organizations, like here, they really do something very substantial for the entire society. And they do not have any division, or they do not, reject somebody because he has a different view. And most important thing that I would like to say, perhaps you might have read, perhaps you might not have read, the most important, work of entire Hindu religion is Bhagavad Gita. And friends, after telling, his disciple and friend, Lord Krishna, at the very end says, look, I have told whatever was according to me was proper, that you have to fight with an evil element, but ultimately you have to take the decision. Iti te gnanam akyatam guyyat guyyataram maya vimrchayetad asheshana yatha ichchasi tatha kuru. Do whatever is correct according to your point of view. This kind of freedom, when it is given by the prophet or by the God or by the Son of God, I think, that is the foundation of democracy, religious democracy, a spiritual democracy. Thank you, sir.
Amen. Thank you. Rena, would you like to offer a comment?
I just want to thank to all of the speakers for words of wisdom and for being here with us today. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and thank you for being willing to open all those emails, even if you didn't read them completely. But thank you for getting here. And just one warm, culturally this may be awful, one big warm hug to all of you. It's just thank you. Yeah, gratitude. And last comment, some of you I've Dr. Singh, who I've known for years, and I think Dr. Merchant we met 4 years ago. Anyhow, it's been a pleasure. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I have written down what I said in the chat box.